Welcome to an episode of the A Mental Success Podcast. I am your host, Laurentia, and today we have a very, very special guest, Ms. Jewel Thompson. How are you, Ms. Jewel?
I'm blessed. How are you?
Good. I'm doing good as well. So just go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, I am Jewel Thompson. I am presently an assistant lecturer of entrepreneurship at a university called Ashesi University. I also manage a business incubator for the alumni and graduating seniors of the university that focuses on developing their businesses while helping them to also generate and develop or track their impact. Aside from that, I consider myself a social impact strategist as well as a budding social entrepreneur. And overall, I'm just happy to be back on the continent. So it's something that I think was in a way planned for me, unbeknownst to myself, but life kind of set me up to make it back home. So that's a little bit about me.
That is awesome. I'm sure we're all trying to make our way back there, okay? One way or the other. Yeah, definitely. That's exciting. Okay, so let's delve into your life a little bit. So tell us about growing up African. So were you born in Ghana or you were born in the States?
All right. So question of the day. Now, I was actually born in the States. Both of my parents are Ghanaian, but I was born where traditionally most of us are born in New York. So I was born in New York, and then from New York, we moved to Atlanta. I spent some time in New Jersey, and then eventually came to Atlanta. But when I was younger, I used to go back and forth between Germany and then Ghana and then Jersey at the time before coming to Atlanta.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So you've been to a few states then. That's awesome.
Been around, definitely.
Well, good. Okay, so then you settled that, but you said both of your parents are from Ghana, but then you guys settled. So how long did you live in Georgia specifically before moving to Ghana?
I think I've spent about the past 25 years in Georgia.
Oh, okay.
Probably young phase, but I'm kind of older.
You're old.
But I'm a woman of age, but I spent about the past 25 years in Georgia. So had a lot of my formative years. And that's pretty much where I definitely identify with most when it comes to where I've lived, whether it's global or whether it's within the States. But that's primarily where I stayed. That was my mainstay.
Awesome. Good. So then when you were living in Georgia, growing up, you did most of your schooling here, it seems like, in Georgia. What were your career goals? Or even when you were younger, like what was your biggest dream career-wise?
So it's an interesting question because I was almost like, I wouldn't say like, what's the word I was a Jill of all trades. My actual passion was primarily around the arts, really, really love to exercise my creativity. I love reading. But then at my core, what really drew me in was like, how can I help people and then have like a certain level of power or influence that can really support those who maybe come from backgrounds that are marginalized. And I was thinking like this when I was younger because I experienced life in a duality almost, where for a time there was a period where for me, at the time growing up in a single family, my parents separated, where I learned that it was, for certain people or in my lifestyle, it was tough growing up. It was challenging. And so that always caused me to empathize with those as well, much like myself, even though I was in the same shoes that, had to, maybe potentially seek government assistance and you can't get the best clothes, you can't do this. But what my mom did is that she had this fighting spirit and really, really worked her way to she could create a very comfortable lifestyle for us by the time I hit my teenage years. So it just, like I said, gave me this sense of duality about the challenges that are faced for those, of course, who are kind of in a lower socioeconomic tier. And then, of course, what happens as you're attempting to move up, especially if you are an immigrant. So I say all that to say that in my heart, it grew more of a compassion of how can I support people much like myself or in those situations. Who did I want to see growing up? Who did I want to support me? Who did I want to encourage me or care for me? And so that led me to initially wanting to become a doctor because I felt as though practice medicine would enable me to help people, right, and advocate. And then slowly, when I got into university, that's where I started. So I was on a pre-med track. And after a couple of like externships and such, I was like, maybe this is not quite where I want it to be. And I was like, God, okay, so if this isn't it, what's the next one? And then the next one, as the journey goes for most of us, first generations, is that I was like, well, then I'll go be a lawyer. Again, because I was leading with the mind of what position would provide me with, again, certain level of power and influence to support others and be an advocate in some way. So I took the law. So like I think my second year of university, I switched. And when I did that, I ended up securing an internship with the Georgia Public Defender Standards Council. And I worked there for some time. And once my term was coming to an end, my supervisor at the time recommended another like startup nonprofit that was focused on providing like training skills and support for public defenders, of course, who were supporting those who couldn't advocate for themselves. And I said, perfect, I can go there, work, learn a little bit more and get mentorship. And that's what I did. But then it kind of turned tables for me because I was young and one of the younger members of their team just starting out. And again, excuse me, I kind of skipped paces. So this happened after I was getting ready to graduate from university and, was prepping for the LSAT, all of that. And I was there, but I was helping them to develop their programs, develop systems, looking at the operations of everything. And I would go to like summer trainings and manage them and lead it and do all of these things and recruit. And here I am, this young woman in her early 20s going around to different law schools, recruiting for our program. I helped them develop their summer law clerk program. And I started to see a pattern with myself that this was something that I actually enjoyed. And then kind of what I saw also happening was the fact that because I was helping to create these systems and building these types of programs, I was inadvertently helping the people that I always thought that I would want to help in my own way, because by creating something that supports those individuals who are on the field per se, now there's a way that this person is going to get a better experience within the criminal justice system because our program supported, or expanded in this way. And it just got me thinking. I was like, well, maybe I've been going about this all wrong. Maybe I've been looking at titles and making the assumption that to be a doctor, to be a lawyer, nothing against anyone who's chosen that path because they're very admirable. But I was under the impression that that was the only way that I can change lives or make an impact. And I was wrong, which was good. And I learned that in my first experience with my actual first job. And I got the comfort of the founder when I approached him and I was like, they were all rooting for me because they were like, oh yeah, you ready to go to law school? And I was like, I don't think I want to go anymore. And he was just like, you know what, that's absolutely okay.
I know, yeah.
He was like, it's okay. That if you can't see yourself doing this type of work for years, because it is something you have to dedicate your life to, and you find that so many people switch or come out of the career or realize it's not for them. And he was like, but that's okay. You find a way that you can make your impact. And that stuck with me. And so from there, I spent 5 years there supporting them, building up the organization. We went from about $400,000 in what we were having as operating revenue from grants and funding to about $1 million by the time that I left. And then I went on to business school instead to pursue my MBA because I felt like I needed to understand the theory behind how we were in this kind of startup space and how we were putting things together. And I thought, okay, it's going to be business school. So I went to pursue my MBA.
Wow, that is interesting. So from doctor to law and then to your MBA, you are just educated. Look, you're all around a very intelligent woman to have gone through listen, and you went for like the top tier career choices, doctor, lawyer. That's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
I was running out.
Good. So after your MBA, that's when you decided that you wanted to go into teaching, or tell me how your teaching interest came about.
Oh, sure. So what happened was that when I did my MBA, I decided to actually do a global MBA program. And what that enabled me to do was some of my coursework was in Atlanta. I was at Georgia State. And then some of my coursework took place in Paris, France. So I was at the Sorbonne. And then I did a management program in Brazil. And then I did trips to China to learn just about how, the international business system works and what it looks like there. So yeah, it was a really, really great experience overall, very well-rounded. And whilst I was there, I was also thinking, all right, so what comes next? And when I was preparing to graduate, I had like 2 different offers or 2 different opportunities. One came first before the second one. So I guess this is at the time when I was thinking how I made my decision, but one was with a consulting management firm, which would be a traditional route to take after you're done with your MBA. And then the other was with another NGO. But the NGO's appeal was that they focused on financial literacy, but then using that level of financial literacy to empower local communities. And they had a particular aspect of their business or their model that focused on just business development and supporting entrepreneurs. And I saw that as an opportunity to, give back and empower. This was my core theme. So instead of going the traditional route, I did take that route instead, pursuing the role with the NGO. And in being there, what it required of me was to develop a lot of community partnerships, redesign and repurpose a business development training program for entrepreneurs. I had a partnership that they had already solidified with a local bank in the area. So whilst I was not only, putting them through this entrepreneurial training course, I was also supporting them through financial literacy. So helping them to get both their personal and business credit up to and then, of course, being there with the bank, give them an opportunity to, apply for different bank products maybe they wouldn't have had access to kind of jumpstart their businesses. So it was a really full circle type of approach. And the model I thought was really strong. And, I'm highly empathetic type of person and very personable to an extent. So I always had a classroom or a cohort full of people. And to this day, I'm like, how did I do that? Because I'm actually quite introverted to an extent. But I think once I smile and you actually get to know me, you can hopefully, tell that I'm actually genuine with my intentions. So I think that attracted a lot of people to the program that I was doing specifically. So I trained well over 100, aspiring entrepreneurs. So when you ask, like, where did the teaching come into play? And so as I was supporting individuals, kind of coaching them, doing some consulting as well, I was just curious about entrepreneurship as a whole, like theoretically, what does that look like? Because of course, when you get to the academic side of it all, we have various conceptual frameworks that we use. We have theories that we use that help us to define why we do what we do. You have so many different gurus from Howard Stevenson to Peter Drucker that all represent the face of like entrepreneurship when you talk about it. And I was wondering, where were the brown faces, the Black faces, the faces, right? And yes, they're there, not to say that there aren't, but I was curious about like the literature that I would read. Right. The literature that I would read and what we call seminal papers that you just pull and you say, this is the greatest insight, etc. It was very limited. And to that end, it made me question, like, what does entrepreneurship look like on the continent back home? Because obviously, since there's been this Silicon Valley explosion, 2002, as we kind of transition into the digital age, everyone's taken that approach. We're all lean startups. We're all building this. We're all, everyone has kind of adopted that model. But the reality is that sometimes it doesn't work for every cultural context per se. And you find that if you look to certain countries, that try to adopt that model, let's say, and particularly in Africa, that they're not necessarily building to the scale their counterparts doing. And it's a mixture of different reasons as to why that happens. And you have a few that definitely, hit the marks all the time. Like just recently in Ghana, we had ZPay, get a certain level of funding and investment in their first round of raising capital. And that was a big win for, such a tech-enabled or fintech type of startup. So I'm saying a lot of stuff, but the point of it all, sis, was that at the end of the day, I was like, all right, how do I become a voice in this space and contribute from an academic perspective? And so that switched my path to academia. And I applied to a PhD project program that supports, minorities who are considering a doctorate in business. And they help you to kind of get clear around what this potential, academic could look like. And that's kind of what changed my approach, because I was already teaching, because you have to understand whether when you pursue this, if you're more of like wanting to be a teacher, if you're wanting to be more of a researcher, because the schools are all different and how that works. And I realized that after kind of working with some individuals at Emory, that I did actually want to pursue more of the research side. So long story short, it's a lot of me asking why, what happens, what ifs, and wanting to contribute to that space. And so that's currently what influenced my decision to transition to academia.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That is amazing though. But my favorite part was when you were talking about how you were teaching entrepreneurs. So I want to know, what were the entrepreneurs that you were teaching, what were some of the businesses that they were interested in, and which kind of people did you resonate with more?
Sure. And let me stand to correct. I think even though I do it now, I'm an assistant lecturer of entrepreneurship. I'm of the school of thought that you actually can't teach entrepreneurship, but you're teaching the management skills around how to actually run a business or start a business. So it's not teaching, because it's a very complicated space to be in, because the nexus of entrepreneurship is very much dependent upon the idea and the individual. Right. And so if you have a person who doesn't have the capacity to actually lead a great idea, you're not really going to get a successful business. But then you can also have a really great idea, or you can have a really poor idea and a great leader. And then now it's a matter of them maybe getting some support to refine or pivot this idea to where they can take it to the next level. Right. So that's why I said it gets tricky. You can't teach someone how to be an entrepreneur. You can't teach tactics of entrepreneur, but you can teach the management sides of it, because you have to know certain operations, you have to know how to acquire customers, you have to be in a position. It's a whole thing, right? And that's why I say those conceptual frameworks come into play to support. But when I was running, let's say, an entrepreneurial training program, a lot of us, the individuals that came to the training program, had somewhat a mixture of like service-based industry type of businesses. So some of them were wanting to start things like a dry cleaning service. Some were trying to do things with food, right? So some of them had catering businesses. Then you had individuals that, had people-based or client-based type of businesses or consulting type of models. I had a small few people who had products as well that they were trying to sell. And then you had another small percentage of people who were actually doing something that was tech enabled. So it was a very variety of who the entrepreneurs were and what their aspirations were as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting point of view when you mentioned you can't teach entrepreneurship, because this day and age, oh my goodness, I can't tell you how many times like I'll go on Instagram or Facebook and there'll be like an ad of someone who is
the thing is, like, you saw that all through the pandemic, right? 2020, yeah. Everyone has a post, take your little stimulus check and go start a business, go get your LLC. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. It's a very complicated process, and it takes a certain type of resilient individual to, start and then find the right product fit for the market, right? And actually have the proper timing for whatever it is that they're creating that the market wants and is willing to pay for. And you find that the reason why these people can come through and say, yeah, I did it in this way, because they might have a product at the time that the market may need and may want. So if everybody's selling weave or whatever the case may be, right? If you have a following, you can put pretty pictures, you know how to talk to people. Yes, by chance, you might strike it easy within that first year. But the real true and testament of like an actual entrepreneur is if you can exist beyond even 5-10 years. Is that level of sustainability that matters most, not your first 2 years of striking $500,000 or $1 million, and whatever people claim to do, but can you actually sustain this and create some level of actual generational wealth? Is this the type of business that you can eventually, create such a system that someone can come and take over for you? Is it the type of business that you can actually sell off to someone else? Like, what exactly are you building that could really prove to be something that consistently like sparks up economic progress, right? And that's where you get a lot of things that are confused, and people do these get quick rich or get people excited that everyone can do it. And it's not that easy, but with time, the right people, and just that grit and determination, yes, definitely you can make it.
Yeah, I think with time too, we'll see who the real entrepreneurs are, the ones that are still there after
Yeah,
this whole entrepreneurial what hurricane or whatever is going on.
right.
As we'll see, who the real the people who could be consistent and pick good industries and niches to get into. But
Definitely.
okay, so let's delve into Ghana, right?
I,
Why Ghana? I know we're from there and everything, but you were born here. You were born here, living the American dream and everything. Like, super intelligent woman. Like, you're in a land of opportunity, and then you decide to move back home. Why?
ooh, it was honestly like a timing thing, because once I made that decision, okay, I want to go into academia, I also wanted to test. I had already tested if I was interested in research, right? Can I do it? Do I enjoy it? Is the data interesting enough for me to say I'm going to pursue an additional 4 or 5 years of education to, meet this goal? I said, sure, that works. So I said, okay, I want to teach, and I want to test that to see, do I actually enjoy teaching in an academic setting beyond, because I was doing more of like a professional setting of teacher, or I guess environment of teaching. And of course, I could have probably tried to do that in Atlanta for sure, but I felt as though with what I wanted to explore, the questions I had about entrepreneurship in the continent, etc., it made more sense to go back home and really see what was happening, right? And use that as an opportunity to grow, and then also to contribute, because there's a lot, that I've learned here working with a lot of brilliant minds, young people, amazing startups in Atlanta. And I was like, well, what if I can go back home and, share some of these experiences, or learn what's happening and figure out, all right, how do we contextualize it? And so it became more and more of an opportunity for me. And I honestly didn't tell anyone that I was planning to make the move. I literally just slowly started up for myself, because I didn't want anyone to influence my decision. I'm already very risk averse. So it's like, it takes me, I gotta, yes, no, maybe, no. And then I'll second guess myself, all the time. So I was like, I don't need it right now. So I was like, God, if this is what you want me to do, then you will make the path fairly plain and clear. And I will know that this is you telling me to do this, instead of me kind of listening to my own mind or others for what I'm supposed to do. And just this moment I made that commitment to say, that's what I'm going to kind of allow to be my guidance, things started working out as they were supposed to. And I got the great opportunity to come back home, and everything started to work out.
Wow. So how was your experience in Ghana? Like, if someone thought about moving back home,
Yeah.
what would you tell them? Like, what would be your advice to them? Like, are
My
you
Mike, is that, you definitely need a plan. You can't move here with just sheer optimism, like I'm going to come and it's going to be great. Unless, of course, you have roots here in a way where you have family already here, you have property already here, you have opportunities that you've already connected to here. Sure, you can move back without an issue. But for someone like me, where, a lot of my family connections were still in the States, as opposed to being back home in Ghana, I didn't have any connections here. I didn't have any people that I was close to here. Again, the opportunity was God-given, not necessarily like my own doing. So I had to work very hard when I first got here. And it was a lot of ups and downs for me. And again, it still became a point of questioning, oh, did I make the right decision? This is hard, or this didn't work out, or that didn't work out, or this is so difficult, because it's challenging. There's a whole different type of system here that if you're coming from a place like the United States, you can get very frustrated with it. But at the same time, even with the cracks in the system, there's so much opportunity to, if you stick to it and you're resilient, there is opportunity to try to get what you need done. So if someone was moving back, I would definitely say have a plan. Don't do it off the sheer sense of optimism and feeling like you can come here and make it, because if you say, like, it's like, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. No, if you can make it in Ghana or even West Africa for that matter, then you can make it anywhere for sure, especially if you're coming with no connections, nothing at all, because it can be challenging.
Wow, even in our own country. Interesting. But so what would you say was your some of your mistakes, or maybe not mistakes, but things you wish you knew before you moved to Ghana?
So I think my biggest challenge is around people, right? And relationships that you develop. My traditional approach is I'm generally somewhat, to an extent, very trusting. And I assume that everyone has good intentions. Very naive most times to think that. So I always come with that mindset, but then you recognize that there's a lot of people who sometimes have a very a survival mindset. And when someone's operating from a place of survival rather than a place of abundance, you end up getting into a situation where you don't know why someone is doing something to you that they shouldn't. You don't know why someone's making plans to, swindle you, and you just get lost. Like, wait, what just happened? Yeah. And again, because you're operating in a system that maybe doesn't have all of the structures in place to protect you from people who may misuse you in some way, that's where it can get challenging. And I think those have been some of my mistakes, is navigating relationships and developing a social community that you feel, all right, great, they support me, this is genuine, we're here to build. It's not a matter of I'm taking from you, you're taking from me type of thing. And I think that's kind of been some of where some of my missteps have occurred. But I can say slowly but surely, like, I've been developing, a small group of people who have similar ambitions and focus, that really, see the vision and help me in ways, just even when I need someone to talk to out of sheer frustration of what's happening, they're there with their advice. And so I'm highly appreciative.
That is interesting. Like when you said the part about being too trusting, oh my God. And that's my biggest problem with Ghana right now is how the police system is set up there. It's like, if you make a mistake, it's very hard to like try to find a lawyer or even calling the police. Like, I remember one of my friends, him and his family went to visit Ghana, and they had an armed robber come to their house.
Wow.
And they called the police, and the police is like, oh, I don't have a car. Can you bring a taxi to come pick us up so we can get the armed robber? And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I know the police here is not the best and everything, but especially not this day and age, but there are some good police officers out there. And if you're lucky enough to get a good one here, like, you just feel more protected here. But my husband, he has us on this little plan of moving to Ghana. We're 7 years now. Okay?
Yeah.
7 years left in the US, but I just always think about that. Like,
I mean, those are some of the risks, right? Because of that sometimes lack of infrastructure. I won't say that it's always like that, but you do find that, yes, those are stories you definitely hear. So I won't sugarcoat it and be like, no, that's definitely not happening, or there's a lot of competency. No, but at the same time, you do have people who take their work seriously and do help in the capacity as best as they can. There are those who may have cars and can come to you immediately, who follow the system and make it work. But then, of course, it's just a high variable, right? And so you have to just make sure you take your precautions in a way, understanding that maybe there might not be a system there to protect you as you would expect. And again, that's kind of coming with that plan in mind. It's like, all right, I know I need to have this, that, and the third ready in case of XYZ. Even just if you have to go to the hospital, right? And it's an emergency, having a car available, and you could, bypass an ambulance, knowing that this might have to happen. Like, those are things you just kind of have to ready in your mind. That I call them, I always tell my friends, I call them privilege problems. Like, we're privileged to have certain things in our structure. Yeah. And so when we get here, we complain about every little thing, and it's just like, well, it's a privilege problem because there's something with it. And they're used to that, right? And it doesn't seem like a problem in totality, right? So there are behaviors that have adjusted to that. So at the end of the day, you have to come prepared. You have to have your plan, and you have to be pretty vigilant in executing that plan.
Right. That's an interesting point of view. I'll start thinking about it like that now. I suppose.
But it's not all bad, If you and your husband pick a good place to, like, not a good place, everywhere has its issues, but if you're mindful of where you're planning to live and the security around that and all of these different things, you'll be fine as best as you can.
You'll be fine. It'll be nice to live in Ghana, though. It's like, I feel like Ghana's like everyday vacation kind of thing. Like,
definitely, that's the catch. Like, that is the catch. There is that what I have realized is that I do a lot here, but I don't feel as stressed as I did when I was in the States. I think I'm more stressed by people than I am by my actual work. So yeah, so to that end, you can, the quality of life in the sense of the peace you get is greater here. So I've definitely been able to slow down, even still doing again a lot, but it's been at a pace that I can manage.
You can manage that.
And it's really good, you know? And I remember when I first got here, I just would be excited to walk outside and go get some Killer Willy, like on the corner. Like that was my pastime where I was excited. Yeah, I'm gonna go out. I love to smell the air. I was excited. I mean, I still am, like, just for those little moments of peace that you get in the simple things that you do, right? It doesn't have to be this luxury 5-star restaurant all the time. It can be just a quick trip to that gets you happy. It makes you enjoy. So yeah, those little things.
Awesome. So now let's talk more about, so if someone was interested in teaching in Ghana, what are the steps that they need to take?
For sure. So you have to know exactly which level you want to teach at, because you obviously have primary education. We have, I guess JHS, SHS, and then of course you have tertiary education here as well. So the qualifications for each of those levels be different. And then you have to know if you're going private or if you're actually going public, like going to a SITO type of thing. So those requirements are going to be different. Typically, if you are coming from the States and you're going to like a private school, they're going to have expectations of you as far as your teaching quality, certain certificates that you may have, and capacities and your experience as a teacher prior before taking you on, because they are very thorough in their selection of teachers. And then again, some public schools are similar, but then they may depend upon, just maybe a certain amount of experience. So just the simple fact that maybe you're coming in to teach possibly English, that might just be enough where you don't have to go and have like this certificate in teaching. Now, when it comes to my level for university, the rankings are definitely based upon your teaching experience, your degree, things that you've published, and your capacity to have a desire towards like scholarship and towards just general service within the university. So then they look a little bit more concretely. Sorry, I have a mosquito flying around the house. They look a little bit more concretely at those qualifications. So it's really up to you what you want to do. You look it up, see what you can apply from abroad before coming, or you can apply once you get here. It's best to familiarize yourself with their system and their leaders or leadership there, so that you can reach out to someone and get feedback about their structure and opportunities, and then go from there. So if you're going private and if you're going towards the university, it's very similar to any type of a broad type of teaching opportunity.
So is there one that you would recommend is easier, or like an easier path to get to, or just whatever you want to do is where you should go?
You mean in regards to coming back home or getting a job, or
like teaching, whether it's primary, private, the university?
So it's honestly what you're passionate about. So if you're passionate about kind of early childhood education, then obviously if you're in the States, make sure that you've had some experience teaching in early childhood education, because the concepts are different, and how you teach children are different, of course, from how you would teach middle-aged children to from how you would teach children who are in university age level. So there are different concepts that are applied to that. So you may have to get or facilitate or learn those theories and how you do those things before you come and share over here as well. So I would say that if it's something you're passionate about, start now. See if you can start off even just at like early childhood center in the States. Take some time volunteering, become a teacher's aide if you want to just kind of learn the process, understand, read the right books, study. Sometimes you might have to go get your certification, get that certification, and then you can come on over and do it just like that. But to pop over and not have that background, it may work maybe with some public schools, but if you're going for the private schools, they're going to want that background. Sure.
And as far as like income, or what do you need? How much would you say, like an estimate of how much would you need before? Is there like maybe like an amount where they pay like a registration fee to sign up? Once you get there, do they offer like housing for the students? I mean, for the teachers and professors?
It all depends on your school. So they vary, right? So I know some people who've moved here and let's say they were working with like even a private JHS or SHS or whatnot. Sometimes depending on the position, they will offer you housing. It comes with maybe some other types of like, the word is escaping me, but other benefits as well. So maybe you might get like, allowances, that's it. So you might get like a clothing allowance, you might get this, just depending on your field and what it is that you're doing. There's some, outside of teaching, there's some multinational firms that are here that would offer housing, offers you a car and a driver along with your beautiful salary, right? So there are people who are definitely here living comfortably based upon the allowances and benefits that come with their particular role. Now, are they going to be making the same exact amount as they would maybe be making in the States? Maybe, maybe not. Not oftentimes, it's not comparable, but at least the benefits that come with it allow you to live with a certain quality of life, maybe that you had in the States. So yeah, it greatly depends on the institution and their benefits package.
Wow. So you just kind of like have to do your research and see. Yeah.
You do. You have to ask the questions during the interview, right? So once you get to the interview stage, any of these places, you get real. Like, what are you offering? What are your expectations of me for hours? What is included? And you'll get that. They will be honest or transparent with what it is, make that decision if it's for you. And if it's not, you move on to the next opportunity and that can better fit you expect and what you desire.
Right. Nice. So with your experience, would you say that like you're in a profitable field? Like would you say like you're comfortable, like you're living a comfortable life and everything? Like the school you've gotten is, giving you the life that you want, or you're living comfortably?
I would say that I'm definitely living comfortably, and that's a mixture of where I work, and then I also take on a lot of different projects that also help to supplement as well. So again, it just depends. I guess for me, how do I put it? There's a certain quality of life that I would have had in the States that's a little bit different. So there's, certain things maybe you might not get every day or that might not be happening, but for the most part, I live in phenomenal, like a great community, very safe, very secure. I work at a great institution. They have a great support system. And then again, I supplement with projects that I work on as well that bring in additional financial support.
Wow, nice. So speaking of projects, so what other projects or what projects are you working on in Ghana?
Oh yeah, I have a couple that are fun. Some I can disclose and some I'm waiting because you gotta first before you tell the world what's happening. But one that I am truly excited about is one that I'm working on with one of my students. And it's called LIFT. So it's leveraging intuitive technology for health. And the idea is that we are developing a platform that supports, it starts the current market we're focused on is university students within Africa and the support within their mind health. So it's an AI-enabled type of tech platform that kind of predictive technology that supports students who are dealing with depression or anxiety. So we have therapists that are on the platform, particularly we're piloting with our own university right now that also respond and work within the app. And then, of course, other partners we work with to kind of create this environment of safety and security in a sense to feel like you're supported even when you're experiencing levels of depression or high levels of anxiety, which sometimes a very competitive university environment can bring. So I'm excited about that. So we developed our prototype for it, currently testing. So it's cool. It's exciting, so hopefully by next year we'll be able to put it to the market. For now, again, testing with the university. But once we get it to the market, then other universities will be able to use the system and other students will have access to it. And I mean, it's a personal project for myself and for my student because, she was the one who came to me with the idea because she is a high achiever and she was experiencing or starting to experience anxiety and depression herself. And for me, also having been a high achiever in my younger years, I've had to deal, and it hasn't even nothing to do with high achievement for me. I've just simply had to deal with moments or experiences with depression as well as anxiety. And yes, and so I recognize that, even here on the continent, it's still a little bit taboo when we talk about, mental health or mind health and well-being and how you take care of yourself and support from therapists and all of these things. You really don't do that. Our resolve, which I'm still okay with, is, to pray about it. But sometimes you definitely need help and it's difficult when you're dealing with certain challenges by yourself, and you may need that support from someone who's clinically trained to be able to guide you through a process of getting back to your center so that you can focus clearly. So we are passionate about that work, and we are steadily working to improve that systematically, for times to come.
Yeah, that is really amazing. And one thing I'll say on that is, it's funny, I was talking to my mom about that a while ago, and we're talking about how depression has been in Ghana for so long. And like what you said, it's literally a taboo to open your mouth and say, I'm depressed, or feeling sad. Like, that word is non-existent in the old Ben part of Ghana. Like, there's no depression. Like, it's either, oh, but that you're going mad, you're crazy, you're like, there's no medium that says, oh, you're depressed, go get some help or whatnot. So that's huge.
Definitely. It's a stigma around it, right? But there's various levels of depression. Sometimes you can have mild depression, and sometimes you can have, a clinically diagnosed type of depression that may require medication. And, people, and that means that there's something, levels that are off within your mind, not even that, levels that are off, like serotonin levels that are off, different things that need to be regulated and stabilized for you to come out of that feeling or come out of that fog. And so we can't just always say, oh, it'll go away. Sometimes it doesn't. And it's something that needs to get regulated, through various means. And I think that with our greater connection to the internet, greater access to technology, sometimes a lot of those are triggering for a lot of people without realizing it. And then sometimes, so that's where kind of like that mild depression may kick in, where you're starting to compare yourself to someone else. And now you're feeling like you're not good enough, and everything you do constantly, eats at you every day. And then before you know it, you're in this space that you can't seem to kind of shake or get off of you. So it's a really important conversation. And I think as the global South kind of catches up with the rest of the world as it pertains to technology and our connections and what we're exposed to, we definitely need more systems to protect us so that we can feel supported again and safe when it comes to our mind health.
Interesting. That is good. Well, kudos to you guys. God bless the project and keep going. That's good. So let's dive into your end goal. What do you hope to get out of your experience in Ghana? Do you see it as like a long-term thing, like the rest of your life kind of thing, or is it temporary, or like within the next 5 years? Like, where do you see yourself?
Oh, I mean, with Ghana, for me, it's planting seeds. So I'm here because of a purpose. And so it's an opportunity for me to invest in my country, develop some sound roots, which means, getting the land, purchasing the homes, putting things together that enable other people to do the same when they come here, starting projects and businesses that, again, can withstand 5, 6, 7 years, contributing to academia in a way that articles or things that I write of Ghana and propels it. So these are the things I see for myself, is that if I'm able to check off all of these things, so that creation of a bridge between what I'm doing here in Ghana and creating it back or connecting it back to the diaspora, that's my primary goal. And it involves my work again in academia, my work with these different projects that I have or business opportunities, and my work with other entrepreneurs in this space. And that's what I see next 5 years. Does it mean that I'm going to be here forever? I don't know. Can't say that, because I'm all about the purpose, the why, what am I doing, what's next? And once that's fulfilled, then it's time to maybe end up in Indonesia, end up back in Atlanta, who knows? But I will have roots here, and I will have made an impact or creating outputs or outcomes that are leading to impact here if and when it's time for me to go to another place. But for now, Ghana is definitely home. August makes 3 years since I've been here. And so I can only wait to see what happens in the next few years.
Next few years. That is amazing. Wow. Well, we're winding down on our conversation. But before we go, if you just want to say something to encourage someone about chasing their purpose or teaching in Ghana, whatever. What are your last words?
Sure. Well, I mean, I want to encourage people, and I say this all the time, is that you don't necessarily, and this may seem contrarian, you don't have to move back like I did. It's not for everyone. But what you can do is ensure that you are enabling Ghana and other countries like Ghana on the continent to have be a part of the global conversation. And that means that, one, in your homes, you're talking about Ghana, you're talking about Africa, you're talking about the history, the cultures that exist. You're shedding that light so that people aren't misconstrued by images that they see about the continent or stories that they hear, right? About what's not working, what's bad, what's going on, right? But you're telling the truth. You're having the conversations, the dialogue, talking about the richness that exists. You're making the choice to come and vacation here. You might even get a vacation home here. You're contributing to the tourism and the jobs that need to happen because you chose to come here instead of, not to say it's bad, but instead of going to Bali, you said, I'm going to go vacation in Ghana. That's you doing your part. You can come here and you can also work with the local entrepreneurs here, the suppliers, right? Or if you have a store in the States, make sure that you're getting your supplies from Ghana, someone who has a moringa farm, someone who has this, all of these things that speak to the local agricultural sector that exists here. You could do that. You could partner with people here to do great work. Right. And then lastly, you can make that choice to move back, but make sure it's aligned with your purpose and a plan so that you don't come and recognize, hey, I just did this because it was the thing to do in the moment, and then become frustrated. Things aren't quite working, and then you become jaded and then you go back and you're like, I'm never going back. Why'd I go back? Why'd I do that? And then now you're contributing to the negative conversation about it. Shouldn't be like that, right? We should remain or have some level of optimism and be excited about the opportunities that we can create, whether we're in one country or the other. But it's all about elevation. How do we elevate our country to the point of, global conversation? How do we contribute to its economic progress? How do we make sure that if there are systems that are ineffective, we're partnering with people that are truly on the ground here, that need your support, maybe need your funding, whatever it may be, to make things happen. How can you do that? And that's ways to look at it, at how you play your part, making a change or pursuing purpose that's related to the continent. And if you want to move back, I'm available on your Instagrams and your internets or whatnot. And I'll definitely have an opportunity available for those in the summer that are curious about moving back and just want to have that friend or that person or alliance that they can trust so they don't have to go through the mishaps I've gone through with, trusting the people who didn't have the best intentions. So, definitely that's an opportunity I would create for individuals who do want to move back and they're gung-ho about it, but definitely need the support rails or guardrails to have a very soft landing and not a hard one like I did.
Wow. Oh, wow. I mean, after this conversation, I honestly feel a lot better about moving to Ghana. I'm like, right. I'm like, if you can do it, I can definitely do it. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like I said, Laurentia, it's not easy per se, but it is worthwhile if you do make that choice. Yeah. And you're like, me and my husband, we can do this. We want to raise our children here. There are great schools here, there are great networks here, for you. Like my mom moved back. She wasn't feeling too great. I found great hospitals, doctors, to support her. There are opportunities to create more than, what we have. The pharmacy, like everything is technically here and it's adding on as more people do contribute again to it. So it's not a bad decision. Yeah. Take your time, have your plan, and build. And if someone like me who is, rather, like I said, reserved, a bit introverted, can come out here and make such a big decision and, navigate as best as I can, I think it's open for anyone who maybe has a little bit more, social capacity and networking in that way. They can definitely make it happen, but you can do it. I encourage you.
Right. Thank you for the encouragement. But this was a great, great conversation. Thank you so much for your time, your insight, your intelligence, and sharing your experience, definitely from Ghana. I just hope that once we launch this, it'll touch somebody to connect with you and get some advice about moving back to Ghana and helping our nation, elevating Ghana. Look, Ghana's about to go to another level. Like
it is. You heard Dave Chappelle's trying to move here. Stevie Wonder is talking about moving here. I'm like, where's this coming from? But I think it was
about to be even more expensive. What's going on?
about to raise my taxes. But you know, I think they did a really great job marketing the year of return, beyond the return conversations. You had a lot of celebrities who came here during that time when the world was
really
open.
helped Ghana, yeah.
It really helped create a good image. I mean, I was excited for what I saw because I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be pandemonium. We are not ready. And I was working with a team here, helping a few people. We had about 1,000 people come and visit. It was with Tastemakers Africa, and just kind of curating experiences for them on the ground with the Tastemakers Africa team. And it was just amazing to see, like, Ghana, you know, it came together, it gave people a time. We didn't have as much traffic as I thought we would have, but I was thankful for that, but it went really, really well. And I was just happy that people who wanted to come, who were excited to come for the cultural, historical, and just for the fun too, came and were like, you know what, I could see myself being here. And I'm thankful for everyone in the tourism team that, you know, helped to make that happen as well. That was very well thought out.
I'm excited. I'm ready to go visit now.
Yeah. Hopefully the world opens so we can come for Christmas where all the parties and festivals are happening.
Definitely be sure to do that. Well, thank you so much once again, Ms. Jewel. Thank you for coming on. When I called on you, you didn't hesitate. So God bless you for that. And keep doing what you're doing in Ghana. I hope you continue to elevate, inspire these kids, because you're doing something really big. And you know, you might not see how big it is, but we see it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So we will let you go. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.